Hello everyone, this is Bradley. So yesterday I made this animation due to a question people asked me. This animation is in the reference to a post on Instagram using Blender and animation nodes. For details, you can go through the description. The original post is very interesting and infinitely loopable. I highly recommend you to watch that because it's really cool. I made a simple version of that, and today I'm going to teach you how to do this. In fact, this animation isn't hard. Some issue is that I'm bad at modeling, so it might take a little bit of time. But I also think modeling is a very important preparation step for this animation, so I will show that as quickly as possible. Also, I will be very likely using a different method compared to the original author. There was a limitation in animation node. I reported it and it has been fixed right away. So to follow this tutorial, I need you to download the newest version of animation node from the link in the description. If you are new to animation node, there is also a troubleshooting link attached if you have issues installing that. So let's start. So let's firstly go to the orthographic view. I'm going to generate a plane, and I'm going to hit the SX 0.25. I'm going to shift the rotate 90 degrees. And for the first plane, I'm going to edit mode and Control R to loop cut and bevel these edges. I'm going to turn on the edge snapping. Select the edges and GY snap. Select the other edges, extrude X and extrude X. So now we generate a plane. So actually a cross. Let's make it a cross. And then we have other planes. So let's hit our cross. I'm going to generate a circle. And I'm going to shrink its size to 0.25 again. I'm going to the edit modes and delete half of the vertices. No, actually, I'm going to duplicate this circle because there is another use for these circles in the future. And then I'm going to delete half of these vertices. I'm going to fill these 2 points together. I'm also going to fill these entire circles. So next step for these circles is I'm going to change the snap to increment. And I'm going to duplicate these circles. One goes to down and the other rotate 180 degrees and goes to up. And we have our planes. So let's select all of them and Control J so they become a single object. So name that as a plane. So I think so now we have a cross and a plane. Next step is we're going to generate a shape which is like this shape, and the other side is something like that. And this is kind of very tricky. Next one might sound tricky at the beginning, but let's make a torus. And I'm going to, so in this add torus, I'm going to set the minus to 0.5. So you might think this is 2 times of what has been shown to the diameter of our circle and the width of our rectangle. But this is because if I go to the edit mode, so firstly let's delete the faces that's unnecessary, and then you can see there's half of the vertices which is cutting the increment, the grid. So let's just alt select them and delete these faces, and now you can see these circles, its diameter is nicely fit to the width of rectangle and the diameter of circles. So if you take our original circles as a reference, you can see, let's delete the increment. So you can see it basically fits, which means if we move these around into the shape like that, it will also fit. And this is the idea. So I think that this circle is no longer needed. So let's just delete that. Okay. And then I'm going to keep only 1/2 of the circles being alive. The rest of the circles will be deleted. Okay. Now this still doesn't fix the issue. Let's take the, I think, increment, and let's shift Z so that it only moves at a position. So now this is how it works. But you realize the movements, it's not aligned together. So we need a 0.5 offset. So negative 0.5 and negative 0.75. And the rest are no. and the rest is just I'm going to snap to the edges. I'm simply going to extrude that. Personally, I think this is the easiest way. If you have a better idea, then please teach me. So now we made these kind of patterns, and I'm going to shift D, rotate for 180 degrees, snap into the increments, and it goes to the other side. And then now if I Control J these two torus, then we form the third pattern that we have. Oh, by the way, we forgot to clean up the Z. So let's go to the edit mode. Firstly, let's go to the Let's go to the edit mode and select all the faces and the SZ and hit zeros. So now everything goes into a plane. And let's set the origin to geometry and the selection to cursor. So now everything is on the plane, which is nice. I think the 3 pattern is enough. You can generate more patterns. Be aware that these 2 circles can also form a patterns. Also, the circle and the torus can be mixed together. So there are lots of ways, a limited amount of combination that you can potentially play with. Actually, it's doable. So let's do that. Let's do that very quickly. I'm going to duplicate this torus, and I'm going to L select the faces, and for the plane, I'm going to duplicate that as well. I'm going to select these faces that I don't need. So now we have a torus and a circle. I need also a circle here. So there's the easiest way, which is just to shift D and negative rotate 90 degrees, because the center order of origin has been changed. So now let's just Control J to fix them all. So torus circle. So now we have 4 patterns generated in total, which is very, very cool. Next step is to generate a Boolean object. Firstly, we need to make a solidify, and I'm going to keep the offset to 0 so that if I increase the thickness, then it will expand onto axis. I think 0.3 should be enough. And then I'm going to copy this modifier to all other places. So I'm going to use an add-on which is called copy attributes menu. So you can activate that. It's natively in Blender. And then I'm going to shift select the rest so that keep the torus circles as still the active selection. And then I'm going to hit Ctrl C. So this is copy attributes add-on. You copy modifier. So now all of them have modifiers. I think I'm going to keep the copy as a new driver, and then paste the drivers, and paste the drivers. Then I'm going to shift duplicate these planes, put out the collection. So I'm going to name the original collection as blocks, and I'm going to add a collection which is called booleans. And now I'm going to put these planes into back. But in these planes, I'm going to delete the entire whole things. But I'm going to really just add a plane. And then I'm going to add a Boolean modifier. And I'm going to select our cross. You can see that does not work properly. Let's just shrink. So let's shrink its size 0.99, and then it will work. And then I'm going to duplicate this stuff, put that to plane, duplicate this stuff, put to torus, duplicate stuff, put to torus circles. The reason I essentially do this is because I keep the solidify modifier linked to the cross, so that it's kind of easy to change. Because yeah, it's basically it. And I'm going to change the name. The name actually does not really matter. Torus circle. Don't ask me why. There is some name that has been changed to 001 and some not. I don't know why there's a difference, but it does not actually matter. And basically this is it. So let's just hide our booleans and the blocks, and go to animation node. I'm going to Control A and search for distributed matrices. I'm going to turn off the snapping. And then I'm going to change the size to step. How many steps I forgot, but we will see later. Then we take an object's instance, and you can put the, I think I will put the matrices. Actually, in this case, it does not matter which one you use. And then I think I'm going to take a cross. It also actually does not matter which one you actually work with. Then I'm going to take the object matrix output. It's expecting to have errors, and I will show you why in a few moments. So if I directly put the matrices into the matrices, you can see things weird occurs. This is because that our object has a transform scales which is 0.25. So in this case, let's just delete that, make it clear, and you select all these objects, and I'm going to hit Control A and apply the scales. So the scales recovers back to 111. So normalize basically everything, and then select our things. Then you can see the cross now recovers. I'm going to take the float input so that the entire grid goes to the same size of the increment. Okay, which is nice. Let's take an integer input. By changing the value, you are increasing the grid's amount. So this is completely procedural. You can even change it at the, although I don't see a meaning of that, but it's okay. Up to this moment, this is fine. And then let's take another instancer. I'm going to take a torus. Not a torus. Let's take a boolean. Take a cross and put the same list length to the place, and basically do the same. So now we have everything being applied. So now you can see they are overlapping. Are they actually overlapping? Oh yeah, they overlap because the Boolean object stays at the original position. So we have to apply the Boolean. And to do that, I simply just apply that. It's possible that you don't apply the Boolean by using other method, but it will make your life miserable. So now copy for object again, so re-update the modifier. So now it has been fixed. Okay, very cool. But now we only copy a single cross and cross booleans to the places. How can we actually randomize the entire things? We're going to use a copy objects data, and this is the reasons. This is the node that has just been updated in the newest version, that you have a deep copy option. This option is very important, and I will explain when it becomes very important, or why it becomes important. But first, just think about this. Basically, it's just a copy the object mesh data to the to the location here. So now we have individual objects, which is called cross 67 here. And then I can put another object like the plane or torus to the same place. So let's just so select this as a 2 and put the torus to from. So now this cross 67 now becomes the cross, and this is basically the idea. Now becomes a torus. So this is basically the idea. But this socket cannot receive multiple inputs, and also we are going to randomly choose these objects in the collection to put onto. So we're going to do things differently. And to do that, I'm going to take a loop through objects, and this loop will be very useful because we're going to make a tuple copy. Then first step is in this new parameter, let's hit the plus icon and take an object list. I'm going to name that as sources and the other as a target. This is because, so let's put our objects into the target list. If we're using the copy object data, then we'll copy an object from the collection to replace the object which is already in the grid. And this is the principles. So what are the sources? One source should be the box, and the other source should be the Boolean collection. So let's take an clutch chain info. So I'm going to take the blocks and then the other as boolean. Put the objects into that, which is cool. The next step is I'm going to take a get random list element. I'm going to set the type to singles because we are outputting a single target within this loop. So let's put the index to the seed. The index points which loop are you in, because this loop will be run several times. So the index tells you that this is the first loop, this is second loop, this is third loop, which means the seed will change over time. So we always get a random element from the sources. And here's a very important part, because if by any chances you get a wrong connection, you will screw your files. So please save a copy. I kindly remind you about this. And then let's put the sources to the from, target to the to. This is very important. And take a deep copy. And you can see now basically it has been good, but there are some errors occurs. This is because if you take a look with our torus, it has a rotation of 90 degrees inherited to that. And in that case, let's just hit Control A and apply it to the rotation. And it's still not fixed the issue, it's just a deep copy again. So now it has been fixed. So now we get a random grid, and this contains object and a boolean. So basically they match each other. This is because the children's, the list we are getting here, and the list that we're getting there is matching each other. However, sometimes even if the name matches and the order matches in the outliner, the list may still not match each other. I don't know why it occurs, but it happens. So in that case, you either manually by this create object list, either you manually create a list with the matching order, or else sometimes you need to use the shift list. So if you take a shift list, what happens is basically you just shift the list. So the torus from the end goes to the beginning and the cross goes to the second. Sometimes this helps to fix the issue, but since now the list is matching each other, then we no longer need to concern about this stuff. And this is basically done. So the basic setup has been done. I think this tutorial is already kind of long, so I probably will talk about animation in the next tutorial. So I'll probably see you next time. Bye bye.